Welcome back, Moonkin monthliers. We are joined this week by Bora Bank. We were supposed to have Goosey on, but Goosey decided to sleep in or something, so he's no longer with us. Rest in peace, Goosey Druid. We also do have the returning co-host of Nick Druid. I, of course, am Tettles, and unfortunately do not have a camera because I had to move. We had to reschedule our initial recording because my internet was bad, so now we are finally getting this out here on Thursday. Bora, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm Burbank. I read in Encore. Write the Ice Fiend's Guide. It's really about it.
How's your 8.2 experience been thus far, Bora?
It's been okay. It's just a lot of same for most of it. Nothing too crazy.
Nick, how's farming rares been? I hear that you are sick.
Yes, I'm sort of sick. Sort of working though. Like, it's okay. It's fine for the patch. Grinding a lot of rares. I'm the slayer of Mechagon rares, basically.
Alrighty, so the show today is going to be focused mostly on essences, but before we jump into the show, I want to give a special shout out to Gas Tank and Junderer. Those guys are truly the MVPs. They give us all the sims that we end up needing, and they help us out a lot. So big shout out to those guys. In addition to that, I want to give a big shout out to the Patreon subs: Milpy, Mr. Sliggy, Nevernude, Pixel, Tiggs, Zwifta, Arui, Gaysu, Handflaps, Kronos, Cero, and Solanus. So big shout out to all you guys, even though Solanus is a feral player.
Yikes.
All right, so basically we're going to be explaining essences, what they do. We're going to talk about Azerite, what changed about Azerite. Maybe nothing really changed too much, but we're going to go over that anyways. Professions and consumables, because those also changed a little bit in the patch. So starting off, we got essences. What are essences? They basically empower your Heart of Azeroth. Of course, you probably know this already if you've been playing on 8.2. And with each neck level, you end up getting, you're able to select more major and minor traits. The notable breakpoint right now is 55. You get an additional minor. That's what we see a lot of people going for. They recently nerfed the artifact power required to get to 55. So pretty good change. Nick, how do you feel about that change?
It made us to push to 57 as our guild. Like, that's our goal. I mean, it's fine because 55 is literally a joke now. I'm already 52 after one day. And I don't think 57 is going to be in the realm where you have to grind island expeditions. So
okay, do you get stam from 57?
Like, what's yeah, it's 3% more stamina. That's why.
So yeah, no, it's a pretty big deal. The 3% stamina is actually probably pretty underrated. Do you think that you'd be better off just grinding alts, or do you think that grinding one character to 57 is better?
I think you should definitely just focus on your main, because I don't think heroic is going to be too difficult, and we've agreed on just doing whatever we want on our alts. Like, if you're stuck on 50, 51, 52, it's fine. No one's going to blame you on anything.
Bora, how are you feeling about the change? What are you guys requiring? You requiring 55?
I think it's a light 55 requirement. It's kind of like you should get there, but if you don't, it's not like the worst.
I got you. All right, so we can talk about majors and minors. So we're going to start with the everybody's favorite, Visions of Perfection. So basically, it comes out with the Mechagon, and the major has a chance to proc Incarn or Celestial Alignment for 35% of its base duration. And it also is kind of bugged to where it gives AP when it procs. Do we know if that's going to be fixed?
I mean, it's supposed to give AP when it procs, but...
I mean, it gives like a lot of AP, doesn't it? Doesn't it give like 60 or something?
I mean, it basically gives
55, right?
an extra... It's an extra Incarn, so it should be 15 AP at rank 2. So remember, rank 1 is only 25% of the duration.
I think it was giving 25%. Like a ton, though, right? It was giving like 60 or something?
So at rank 1, it should give 10. At rank 2, it should give 15, basically. But it's just like kind of like, remember how Pulsar was in the patch? Yep. It was worked the same way.
Yeah, Pulsar was giving 40
and then,
initially.
Then fixed. Yeah, then it was fixed.
I remember that. Okay, so yeah, so the Visions of Perfection major, that's definitely shaping out to be one of our most powerful majors. Do you think that ends up impacting our choice about Incarnation versus Celestial Alignment or Star-Lord too much, Bora, or do you think it's going to be just more the same? You're kind of picking the talent on that road based off the fight design?
I mean, definitely did a better job of maintaining the balance between the two than Pulsar did, because it's duration based. But I think Star-Lord, obviously this could all change with like tuning, because I mean the choice is mainly around streaking at the moment, I feel, right? Like being able to get as many streaking procs within those like small windows, your actual CD, like, you know, being important, but like the amount of streaking procs you get there eventually gets offset through the fight because of how like Star-Lord works. If they don't change streaking, I don't think it's going to change too much.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so basically for a lot of other classes, though, their essences don't really interact with their Azerite traits in the way that streaking interacts with Visions of Perfection for Moonkin. Do you guys kind of expect that to change? Nick, like, what do you think about that? It's kind of weird that that it's one of the only...
I don't think it should be changed. I think it's
Okay,
fine as it is.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. I don't think it should be, but do you think it will be?
No. I think the only
Like,
thing
changed
that might be
against
changed is like
Moonkin?
just the streaking star damage being lowered in general.
Yeah, so basically for a lot of other essences, basically it just doesn't even work. So you wouldn't even get streaking procs during your Visions of Perfection proc, which would be
Well,
pretty tragic.
how many classes have their
Paladin.
vision on a spell that actually interacts with their Azerite, right? Like streaking for hunters would work with unerring vision. So does it just straight up not work with Holy Paladin at all?
I think it straight up just does not work with Holy Paladin. I think there was one of the Warlock classes that just didn't work with either. I think it was like Demonology or something.
I feel it should go the other way around, right?
I don't.
I mean, that's just game. Like that would just be better game design. Like the easy way out is making the trait the essence weak. But
yeah, just straight up weaker.
I don't think that should be like contended at all. I think it should always be more complex gameplay, even though like complexity in this sense isn't really that much, isn't really adding that.
Yeah, I mean, I think the game is getting more complex, but like at the same time, I feel like it's about similar levels of like Netherlight Crucible plus legendaries that we had in Legion, even though it feels like it's like all the essences and everything are just a lot right now. All right, so for miners, the Visions of Perfection obviously has a chance to reduce the cooldown of Incarnate or Celestial Alignment whenever that does proc, so that's also super, super sick. We see stuff like people literally being inside of their cooldowns for like 3 minutes or some shit, and you just kind of look at that and you're just like, oh, that's cool, I guess. Are you guys looking forward to the RNG swings of Visions of Perfection, or do you think it's just going to be pretty average most of the time?
I'm looking forward to making a new Weaker for every spell I cast that doesn't proc visions, and just like it's like the Frostbolt thing, right? You know, what was it in Legion? You got like every Frostbolt had a chance to like proc something, and people would just count their Frostbolts.
Fingers of Frost, yeah.
Yeah, so you basically just count all your spells and like see like you like set like new records, like mini game stuff.
For those of you who don't know, Borbank also has the patented crit and non-crit weak.
The originator was Taters made it for me because I was getting really triggered over some fights after Fallen Avatar. Or no, it was Argus. It was getting the crit buff in Argus and then like not critting.
You know, I cannot relate on that one because I actually had like 95% crit on every Argus pull.
I think I took Haste versatility every fucking time on that fight.
But it was pretty close back then. But yeah, so definitely if you have that, it started the origin. That's where the origins come from.
That weak aura is actually so funny because sometimes you'll like look at your fucking crits on your Star Search and it'll literally be like 3 and you'll have like 40 casts of non-crit and it's like, wow, that sucks.
Yeah.
I'm happy for it. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, so it's going to be pretty big RNG swings. It's going to be probably like Whispers in the Dark level of RNG, where it's like it averages out most of the time where you get a couple procs a fight, but then sometimes you're going to have like just super high highs of damage where you're actually just blasting for 2.5 minutes straight in Incarn or Celestial Alignment, and then you fall out, and then you're like, all right, now it's back up. All right, let's go. So that'll be definitely interesting to see. Do you think it's going to be bad because of that in progression, or do you think it's just going to be one of those things that you don't really play around at all?
You can
go ahead.
Nick.
No, it's okay.
I think it's going to be really dependent on how another essence does for progression and how the fights actually work. But we can definitely talk about that when we get to the next one. I believe.
Yeah, we're about to swing straight into that. The essence that he's referring to is condensed life force. You get it via raid. You get these. I don't even know what they're called, tokens
also
or whatever.
known as Rock Boy, right?
Yeah. That guy is formerly known as Rock Boy. So he's a 3-minute cooldown, and he summons a Rock Boy to fight for you, and he gives the mobs the slap, is what I wrote down here. But basically, he also makes them take increased damage taken, and he like shoots out these spikes in like a conal in front of him, and all the people who get hit by the spikes also take increased damage taken. So that's kind of sick. The minor for that is like RPPM spikes that fly out of the ground that hit targets that also make them take increased damage, which is pretty sick. So that major minor combo is pretty good. But the notable point, like Bora was saying, is the major. It's a 3-minute cooldown, so it lines up with our 3 minutes. It does insane amounts of priority damage, and it's like Bora was saying, it's like, do you actually have to have this burst on a 3-minute cooldown window, or do you want the slightly more consistent damage option is not necessarily the right word, because there's huge variance in your damage, but it's like long form damage. Like, do you want damage in like these intervals that could be like RNG heavy, that where you could potentially like just obliterate an ad, or are you more focused on like actually having it every 3 minutes? Do you think that's accurate, Bora?
I mean, it's just going to be completely like fight dependent. Kind of look like the past fights, where when you're doing actual progression and push timings matter. You look at like P1 Jaina beating the third ring. If visions is something that like, I don't know, there were times on fights where you'd be like, man, if I just got like better crit, we would have killed the boss or things like that. Obviously, like you can't just focus on that, but when you have something that is very easily attainable, like a burst or like a certain damage over a period of time that's easily obtainable, that'll make your progress more consistent, I'd probably take that like any day of the week.
I think a good example would be Agrima and Legion, right? Where people picked Zephus and progression because it was so consistent.
Yeah.
And you always had those points where you had to get like consistent like damage and not the OI RNG.
Yeah, Zephus was really good on Agrimar because like basically you wouldn't actually be doing too much damage to Agrimar during the non-intermission phases too, because you have to like either be a Typhoon bot or a Master Root bot, so you had to like sacrifice your positioning and your movement a lot of the time for damage too. So that definitely was also a big deal whenever it came to that. But similar concept though, for sure. It's just kind of a choice of whether or not you play Condensed Life Force or Visions of Perfection. I think it's definitely going to be interesting what we see people playing whenever the raid does come out.
From raid tests that I've done, I would say you would play Vision on most bosses, but I could see Condensed Life Force on some of them.
I could see it on like...
I just think Vision has too much potential to not use it.
Well, there's a lot of bosses in the raid that have you hitting more than one target. And at that a lot worse.
That's also a very fair point. In addition to that, the Rock Boy also can sacrifice himself to the Earth gods for some reason, and he'll just like bug out and die to environmental damage occasionally. And it's like, what the fuck is happening? That seems like that's like a bug. Like it feels like he shouldn't just like die to bullshit damage. But his pathing is fucking terrible too.
Yeah.
Yeah, he shouldn't be able to die that easily at all.
He's literally like a turret, just standing still and taking everything till he dies.
Yeah, no. Like whenever we say he dies easily, he actually like gets hit by a tornado and just like instantly dies, and it's like, what the fuck? How?
I feel like that's probably not intended.
I think I'm with you. That doesn't seem intended to me. But okay, so for people who don't know, Condensed Life Force and Visions of Perfection sim very close to one another within like 0.3%, I think, or something like that. So that's very important for you to taking into account whenever you are thinking about how to play on the fight. If you can actually just get like one condensed life force like right before the end of the fight, like say it's like a 6:30 fight or something, then it could also have pretty big merit there too.
Mm-hmm. Also keep in mind, depending on your prong, you may be able to get condensed life force rank 3 before you get visions rank 3. I'm not sure how exactly the drop system works. It is
nobody really knows how many you're going to get of those Ashara's little tokens from those bosses, right? Because you have to have 27 to get rank 3, right? But I don't know how many drop on heroic.
36. We got 12 on our mythic kill.
You got 12. Okay, so
Yeah.
it was 2 on normal. It was 12 on mythic. By math, I would assume it's 6 on heroic, right? That seems like that would make sense. Interesting. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So
there's a lot of rank 3s that you could just like cheese out on heroic week if you do some specific things. I don't want to really talk about it, but
seem like those
there's like
by far the best for us.
There's like 2 more that you could grind out early on.
Yeah,
but
no,
it's already
for sure.
Too late probably.
Rushing for rank 3 is very important.
Yeah.
And of course, like Nick and Goosey actually put up an article on dreamgrove.gg outlining the 8.2 changes a little bit more in depth. I know Bor and myself also have stuff on Icy Veins and Wowhead respectively. So you guys can go check those out if you guys need a little bit more in-depth information than what we're giving right here. Of course, we're just kind of giving our thoughts and talking about it all. So moving into the first situational essence, and it's kind of controversial. It's a conflict and strife. You get it from game. Rated arena PvP.
Ignore it. Remove it.
And it gives thorns.
Nope. Hate it.
Well, Nick, this is tragic. It gives thorns at rank 1, and thorns sims really, really high, but it sims abnormally high because the boss's swing timer is kind of
it's efficient use of the boss swing timers as well, which it's just, I mean, I'm just going to come out straight and say it. It's not going to be used. If you looked at any of the bosses,
nope,
not even a Mythic Plus.
Any use.
No, not at all. Because first of all, it's an ICD, and it it's. I think is it per turn or is it per proc? That's the only thing I want to. That's the only thing I want to ask. I think it's per. I think it's per proc, right?
Okay. I mean, I think so. Either way, it's not great. I didn't know if it was like a refresh ICD. So it's internal cooldown real quickly the thorn based on when they're meleeing them, and I don't know if it's like refresh or if it's like per target, where like if it's per target then it can only apply so many thorns so quickly, where if it's refresh then it'll only refresh the thorns dot every 0.5 seconds. Like one of those is like significantly better than the other though.
Like you can look at Mythic Plus, and I would definitely see Blood of the Enemy like possibly being used, or Visions. Blood of the Enemy doesn't sim like too poorly on AoE. Or
Blood of the Enemy also does require you to be in melee too, right?
Well, Mythic Plus is, I mean, how often, it's not, this isn't Legion, right? Like how often are we actually like max?
That's a fair point.
You probably know that better than me, but I find that, you know, a lot of these places are very tight knit. Mob count is very precise. You don't want to be, you know, you take a step to the left, you're pulling something. A lot of these kind of remind me of like Horde of Stars designed, where like there's a lot of trash, but you don't need to pull it all, or you need to pull everything. It's like one or the other, right? And like if you need to pull everything, like it doesn't really, like 12 yards is not that big of a deal. Melee is not, like look at you know, MDI.
It's 12 yards.
There's 3 melee.
Yeah, shit, man.
It's not like melee's bad.
So the downside is that you could potentially get hit by a cleave, or you end up losing casts in order to have to get into melee. But if it's 12 yards, then it's actually not that big of a deal. You can kind of just get away with it. So you think that Blood of the Enemy is just way better than Thorns in Mythic Plus, though?
I mean, I guess if it's like it can hit anything, yeah, sure, maybe. But another. If Thorns is, you know, a per target ICD, it's definitely would probably be a little bit better. But outside of any content that's not Mythic Plus, yeah, it looks good, but it's not. It's not really gonna do anything.
Well, a big part of the issue of why it's not super sick in like raid is because the bosses have like a 2-second swing timer a lot of the time, so you're getting not super efficient procs on the thorns on your main target. It does also scale. Thorns also does scale with spell power, so it might read that it does like 5% of the target's maximum health. That is not the case in PvP. It scales with spell power. So the miner though gives a fuck ton of versatility, right?
Yeah, it's pretty good.
The miner is
right?
actually just like super sick, right? Yeah.
It's definitely one that you would use even in raids if it's that good.
Yeah, no,
like, I
that's
know.
one of the
How does
best
it?
ones.
How does the miner proc exactly? What is it? How's that exactly?
Give me a sec.
Like you have to CC or be CC'd?
No. It's an RPPM proc on the versatility, but if you CC targets or get CC'd, then it gives you a stack.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and it's okay. That's pretty good.
It's like 5 or 4 stacks, right, max?
But you got to farm rank 3, which looks
yeah. Rank 3 is not super challenging. It's like 1600 or something, right? Which is like if you're a top end like a PvE player, then you should be able to get 1600 really fucking easily. So honestly, I would just like recommend like trying to learn resto and playing 2s or 3s for that. I don't know if it's specific to 3s. I know it's just rated arena PvP, but if you can actually just get away with playing resto druid and 2s, dude, you can actually just like fucking LFG like 2k like really easily. So you don't even, it's not even going to be hard to get 1600.
Yeah, you're right. That's true. It's not going to be too hard. I'm more concerned about farming like blood of the enemy rank 3.
So yeah, it's a stacking versatility buff that you have a chance to proc, but apparently it has like stupidly high uptime, and apparently it sims like ridiculously high. The miner on Conflict and Strife board.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean we'll definitely see how it looks, but we won't really have an exact idea until because I'm going to imagine we're going to get some of these and they're not going to work like they used to.
Sure, I think that's the one that we should be the most skeptical of whether or not it's actually going to be good or not, because I think Thorns, just in general, how it ends up working out in Mythic Plus could actually be pretty good. Or like you said, it could be just like significantly worse than Blood of the Enemy. And even though Blood of the Enemy is kind of a hassle to play around, it can be obnoxious. It's going to be way better. It's also very important to note that if your tank dodges or parries, then they don't give the thorns to the target, and there are a lot of tanks that dodge and parry a ton.
Or you stun the mobs, or you
if you see the mobs at all, or you have to fucking freeze the mobs because your tank is actually getting killed or whatever.
Blood of the Enemy is a 1.5 minute CD that just buffs you to buff.
Yeah, exactly. So it'll be definitely interesting to see how people end up taking the thorns. It could be good, like we've been saying though. But do note that like if like Prot Warriors, Blood DKs, and Brewmaster Monks are meta for Mythic Plus, then it can actually be really fucking obnoxious, because if you end up popping your thorns whenever they pop Dancing Rune Weapon, they're just gonna parry all your fucking thorns procs. Or if for some reason you're fucking trolling, you actually take it with whenever you're running with a Brewmaster Monk, then you're actually gonna do 0 damage because they fucking parry every single attack, right?
Yep.
And then the same goes with the shield block and Prot Warrior. It's just like shield block all the time, so you're blocking just a fuck ton. So
it's per target ICD. Okay, I believe. Because I'm even doing some BGs right now, and I'm just thorns myself. Saw like 5 targets, get it with.
Okay, so it's a little bit better.
Yeah, no, I mean, no, it's definitely like good. I think it's gonna be like okay, it's gonna be good, but at the end of the day, it's not like. I mean,
it's situational. It's situational.
You can use it on if you can actually make use of it on every pack, and you like that's a 45. That's pretty good. Like that's not bad at all. But for raid, I would never. You will not catch me in this with a raid unless it's absolutely insane on single target for whatever reason.
I think it's usable. To Lively Spirit, right? Isn't Lively Spirit like basically the same, or was the same? Where in raids you really it really depends on your healer, and most of the time you didn't recommend it to anyone unless you know that healer and you know he's going to give you like, what was it, 12 stacks or something.
Yeah, if he juice you up with the Mistweaver Monk, I remember that was the good time. Or you could get juiced up with a 45 stack.
Don't tell that.
From Holy Word Salvation, that was cool.
Yeah. Yeah, but I think it's similar to that because it's okay. It's good on in like some situations, but I don't think it's overall one of the best ones to use in raid. And not sure about Mythic Plus, probably not either.
Mm-hmm. All right, so Bora, you want to tell us about your favorite essence, Worldvein Resonance?
Is it my favorite essence?
I don't know, dude. Is it actually anybody's favorite essence?
I think it's the MVP of the raid early on for like Heroic and Mythic week, first one.
I mean, it's going to be the best, but I don't think...
Yeah.
Is it fun? No?
No, it's not fun. It's hella boring and probably a clusterfuck on your stream, on your screen.
Mm-hmm.
If you actually can see like you can see all of the nodes, it's going to be terrible.
No.
But I think it's going to be really good for the first Heroic and Mythic week. Especially for Heroic. It's going to be decent.
So basically what Worldvein Resonance Major does is it's like an on-use, and you actually summon some of these Azerite nodes around you, and you give int to yourself and other members of the party who are also using the Worldvein Major or Minor. So I'm sure you see where this is going. The Worldvein Minor RPPM summons the Azerite nodes around you, just like at random. You can have 4 active on you at a time, and you can benefit from others.
So, I think it's going to be the Mythic Plus Minor.
It's going to be
the grouped content minor, period. Like if you're doing anything in a group, you're always going to be running it because
again, it depends on like the fight. You obviously got to be like nearby, all that kind of stuff. I feel like it's definitely...
Yeah, there are a few fights in Ashara that could be not used on, notably Ashara herself and what's it, Ashvein? Is that the one with the coral?
Ashvein, Council. Actually, Mythic Council, you're pretty close together because of the mechanic.
So Ashvein and Ashara both could actually not see you using Worldvein, but even then, it's still, I don't know.
Let's see if they coded the Z-axis for the underwater boss. Let's see if that's it.
Okay, Bora, wait a second. Okay, yeah, jury's still out on that one. I think you might be right.
We didn't think anyone was going to be able to jump that high. We just coded it for Demon Hunters so they could double jump.
Yeah, so basically, you end up trying to reach critical mass where your whole entire raid group, or like a stack of ranged and a stack of melee, can have 100% uptime on 4 stacks of these Worldvein Resonance Minor nodes that it ends up spawning. So it's actually pretty bullshit. So basically, you see it in sims a lot, but it's only simming with your own personal Azerite nodes. But if you actually ended up simming it with max uptime of 4 stack of Azerite nodes, then you're actually going to have just huge amounts of damage. We saw it in PTR testing doing pretty insane things, right?
Yep.
Wasn't like the Sims where it was on top? It's like what an average of 3.
Yeah, exactly. It was like on top with like an average of 3 or something stupid, right?
I'm not entirely sure.
If you hit critical mass on it, which is 4, and you have critical mass which is 4 the whole entire time, then it's like, what the fuck? It's actually just so stupid. So basically, you only need like...
It's true.
You probably only need like 6 or 7 people clumped up within, what is it, like 12 yards of one another? It's like something weird. Within a couple yards of one another, and then you're just going to have permanent 4 stack uptime just based on RNG. Like, of course, there is some variance. Like, if you have rank 3 of the minor, you're actually spawning fucking those shards like all the time. But yeah, it's definitely going to be the MVP for this raid, I think, unless it gets like changed of how it works. Which, Nick, do you expect to see it get changed?
Don't think so. I think it's one of the most balanced ones out there. In terms of like, you can abuse it, sure, but Sliver was the same, and early on, a lot of people didn't abuse it that much. So
I mean, but do you think Sliver was okay?
No.
I don't know. I think it was fine. It was worse, like Whisper.
I think I would rather Whispers than Sliver.
They definitely enjoy like group buffs or raid buffs that you have to stack up.
I mean, we have a new Azerite trait which is very similar to Sliver too.
Yeah.
So
which one?
Loyal to the end.
Well, that's on. Wait, is it like? Wait, is that? I'm trying to think.
Whenever you have group members who also have loyal to the end, you get more.
But that's not within a radius, right?
I don't know. I don't know if it's within a radius. I think it might just be group wide.
Yeah, I think it's
if it's group wide, that's fine. I don't mind that at all. I think anything that like changes your positional requirements on a fight that makes you do more damage. Like look at the one off the trigger off Cool, right?
Yeah, so it says every ally that is also affected by a loyal to the end up to 299. So it's not like range restricted. I guess that's part of the issue with Sliver and with Worldvein Resonance is that it's also range restricted, so it's kind of awkward.
Yeah, I guess so, but I think it's still fine for its use. You won't use it afterwards, I think, for raid. You would just use we will just use vision anyway, and so it just gets odd scaled at some point. You just have to get
we'll use vision. Vision, major, Worldvein Resonance, minor, and then
wouldn't you run
your alternative minor would be like Lucid Dreams, right?
Lucid Dreams.
Blood of the Enemy is not bad.
Blood of the Enemy and Conflict of Strife are also both
yeah.
good too.
So in terms of what you'll be able to have on Heroic Week, I wouldn't be surprised to see Blood of the Enemy doing pretty well, especially with who's grinding it.
Okay, so you think Lucid Dreams is kind of like a non-factor then? Because Lucid Dreams actually sounds
I don't like running it. It's not very fun to play at all.
Sure, I think I understand where you're coming from whenever you say that. Do you want to explain what the major and the minor on Lucid Dreams does for, or do you want me to explain?
Yeah, you just get more AP. Both of them just give you more AP, and that sounds like that would be good, but with the way balance is designed right now, we don't really need more AP. We already have a very high uptime on our empowerments. We have a lot of Star Surge, and you're just gonna be munching everything just to get more Star Surge cats out. Right?
It feels good, but it also feels bad because like Star Surge feels like sick to use whenever you're like machine gunning them down, but then it also feels like fucking horrible because you're capping empowerments. It's like it's similar to Radiant Moonlight, the full moon cape. Whenever you were trying to play it on single target, whenever you weren't doing the dad build bullshit, whenever you were like Star Surge,
nobody wanted to run it. Nobody wanted to run it.
That shit felt horrible. Like I don't care how high that shit simmed. That shit felt terrible. It's probably similar with Lucid.
But it never simmed well on single target.
It simmed close-ish.
I feel I was just way too strong. But
of course.
But like I remember doing Star Augur when Radiant Moonlight came out, and I got Radiant Moonlight off the boss before then, and I tried playing OI RM. I have never been so overwhelmed by everything.
I mean, it's a lot of shit.
You would get if you got one Star Surge proc off of a Starfall, it was over. You just ran out of things. You capped like 2 things at a time. It wasn't even close. You capped you would be capping moons because like you couldn't cast that for that long. And then you would like cap AP or you would cap empowerment. It was literally just like 2 of the 4 things to cap on. And that's how it worked.
And of course, this is a little bit different, but with the Eclipse system and with so the on use of Lucid Dreams gives you 100% increased generational astral power. That shit sucks dick on single target because we're just going to be permanently capped. Basically, you try to use it whenever you if you're using the major, you try to start as low on astral power as you can, and then you try to make sure that you try to cap as few resources as possible. But it's just like kind of inevitable whenever you have that much AP. And then the minor is like it has a chance to refund the resources spent. But it's like I think it's like a 15% chance or something, right?
15%, yes.
Yeah. Okay. So it's
whatever you do, you're going to cap on anything.
It's whatever. Yeah, you want to start AP as low as possible, but you also want to get the sub 20 AP, cast Lucid Dreams, and then cast CA, so you instantly cap there. Because the whole point of it is to get as much AP as possible out of it, and what's more than doubling 40, right? Like you're doubling 12, you double 8. Like if your whole point is to get as much AP out of the proc as possible, you're doubling 40.
I so forgot that it fucking doubles your AP that you gain from pressing Celestial Alignment.
Yeah, and then you're gaining like 5 AP per 2 seconds.
And like Arcanic Pulsar too.
Arcanic Pulsar. I actually kind of like it with Arcanic Pulsar. I'm not gonna lie, because you would like it generally lines up pretty well with it, and your Arcanic Pulsar on it, you can get like 3 surges easily.
I
3.
like that.
It's like not even a.
Pretty nice. So yeah, that's one of the only ones that competes early on with like Worldvein Minor, I think, right? Memory of Lucid Dreams, Blood of the Enemy, Worldvein are the 3 that you're looking to take before Ashara comes out, and then Visions of Perfection, Condensed Life Force, and then the situational conflict and Strife. We're not super high on it yet, but we have to see it like in practice in Mythic Plus for us to be able to like fully give our faith on it. But yeah, so I guess we're gonna see where that all ends up for us. Is there any other essences that you really want to talk about? Of course, we talked about Blood of the Enemy being good. Essence of the Focusing Iris is like some conal AoE damage. Is that really
No.
good use at all? Okay.
To be fair,
It's a worse Blood of the Enemy.
Crucible of Flames doesn't feel too bad right now. Like, you don't
And you'll
have
get a
much
second
power.
charge.
Yeah, and like it really owns. It does damage. I've
get the
talked
second
about
one
it
at, like,
with
54,
Thoranan,
right?
and it really does damage, yeah. You get 54 as the second rank.
So we got Purification Protocol, which is like Fury of Elune number 2. Any real use for that one? I think that one actually does like pretty insane AoE, doesn't it?
That'll be the go-to. Hey, I look really good in Mythic Plus, even though I'm a Moonkin, and this is my only source of aid. That's what that'll be.
It's just like another Fury of Elune, right? It just like summons a fucking beam or something down to the ground.
Yep.
We got the Unbound Force, which is critical strike chances increased by 70%.
My favorite one.
Does that go up with the minor, by the way?
Probably.
Good question. Yeah.
That shit used to be fucking just like
It's like
brokenly
70%
OP.
light
I think they brought it down because
It used to be
of
100%,
how
but
that
some
worked.
abilities were like not supposed to crit, and they
It
were
was broken
critting
for us.
because of it. It was? How was it broken for us?
2 to
Every
3 and
streaking
star
hit
surges.
gave you one stack of the minor. Literally
okay,
any ability that hit gave you a stack. So you just had it in like within seconds on the PTR, the unnerfed version. It was broken as hell.
That shit was fucking OP for other classes that just like had stuff that normally would not crit, but then would crit through the Unbound Force, and it was like, what the fuck? I think there was like one of the warrior specs had like, I think it might have been Fury that had something that was like ridiculous because it was critting.
Yeah, I think the rock boy also made it, gave it stacks, so that stacked on top of that, it was pretty insane. Like I was bursting
Nick,
for like
Ripple.
Huh?
You want to tell us about Ripple in space?
No clue, haven't played it yet. Probably
No, it
sucks.
does. It's like Void Elf racial.
I actually have it unlocked. I just haven't picked it yet. I don't think I will ever use it.
Rank 1. Let me read it aloud to you. Creates an Azerite beacon at a target location. After 2 seconds, the Heart of Azeroth will relocate you to this beacon and deal an inconsequential amount of fire damage to all nearby enemies.
Yeah, that's trash.
And then like rank 3 is for 10 seconds after being relocated, you take 10% reduced damage.
Trash.
And then the minor on this is your movement speed is increased by 5%, and when you move more than 25 yards within 4 seconds, you gain some primary stats. But this can only occur once every 30 seconds.
Movement for Boomy. Yeah, great one, good one. That's going to be hella good for us.
It's just gonna be super situational.
Yeah.
Like if there's an Unot mechanic, or this is what I was thinking. The Mythic Ajara mechanic. But is it worth losing?
They changed it.
10% damage.
You have to cheese some shit so fucking hard for that Ripple in space to actually be worth.
Not worth it.
Yeah, it probably won't be worth it. But if it's something as stupid as an insta-kill wall that you have to get, maybe that's what they designed it for.
I think there's
like
better
the only
uses.
thing that you could think of is like Mistress Sazine. Like that's the only.
It was good on Unot. It would be good on Unot.
Mother, no, not mother. Maiden, in TOS. Yeah, when you had to walk to the other side. You know what I'm talking about?
That's a good point. You would get primary stats.
Yeah. On top of the stacks you got.
Yeah, okay. I guess that's right. So maybe Mistress Sazine.
Same for
maybe Maiden minor. Maybe you could use the minor for Maiden, but that seems a bit questionable. I guess.
It's so useless. It's whatever. Just don't pick it ever. I think.
Well, no, there's a way. Like if you're like heavily cheesing something. Oh, fucking kill Jaden, dude. Like, think about
Yeah,
it.
I guess.
But we
that's-
wouldn't need it on.
We wouldn't need it on Kill Jane. Other people might, though. We wouldn't need it on Kill Jane because we're one of them good specs.
True.
All right, we got the Crucible Flame, which is obviously like really fucking easy to get. Like we talked about, 54, you get rank 2 of it. Nick says it does insane damn.
It's
Did you know
actually
that it
like
actually
rumor says it's bis for like BM hunters and really good for mages too.
It's bis for a lot of specs that have downtime in their rotation. So like warriors, like Arms Warrior has like a lot of downtime in his rotation. I think it's the best for that. There's like some shit like Rogue. I think it's pretty good for Rogue as well.
Currently,
do you know it actually scales with Blade Flurry?
Oh my god. You know, also just the fact that currently playing with Lucid, you just want to hang yourself after like a few pulls of overcapping everything. So it feels good to play Crucible sometimes.
Do you think that it's fine on IG? It's like not that big of a deal.
I don't think it's actually that useful. Like maybe if you really wanted to heal for some reason.
No, I'm just saying like, do you think that like hurts the playstyle at all, or no?
No, I think it's fine.
I just think the issue with it is that the opportunity cost of us casting it is like a Mist Solar Wrath or something like that, where we're actually building up to cast a Star Surge. I think that's like the bigger issue. Like if we had downtime in our rotation or something like where we weren't building the whole entire time, it could actually be useful. But as it currently stands, there's no fucking way.
Mm.
I think it's only like useful for non-casters, right? I think for every caster, there's always like some filler you should be pressing.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was getting at. Like the fact that it's on the GCD kind of hurts. Definitely hurts it for casters.
Yeah, I definitely agree. So we got Azerite now after all the essences. So basically nothing really is changing with Azerite too much. Triple Streaking and Arcanic Pulsar still seems to be the best by like a pretty significant margin, and like compounding that with Visions of Perfection potentially working with Streaking Stars as it currently is.
Pew pew.
Just seems like we're just going to be Star Surge bots until the end of time, forever running Triple Streaking and Arcanic Pulsar, which is okay. I think Streaking and Arcanic Pulsar is actually pretty engaging mechanically. It just kind of sucks that we don't really have too much on AoE, but overall, Bora, would you actually change anything, or are you kind of okay with Triple Streaking Arcanic Pulsar still?
Yeah, it's fine. I mean, there's not a better alternative, right?
Mm-hmm.
What else would you want at this point? If there is something that looked, enjoyable, that I'd like, man, I really wish I could play that, but it's not really.
So Lively Spirit, I really want to be reliant on my healer for damage.
You're equipping Sliver using Worldvein, okay, and you're using the, what is it again? I can't get it. Just all of these stacks buff, and then you go ham.
I see. Just be reliant on other people
stack
for
it
my
all,
damage.
and then, rely on all the other ones. Oh, yeah, you take the conflict and strife too, obviously, to rely on your tank, your healer, and the other DPS players who not staying close to you with.
And loyal to the end too.
Yes, of course.
So basically, we got 2 new Azerite traits, which seem pretty good for balance. We got Undulating Tides, which basically does some damage, and then it heals you as well. Seems pretty good because like it passively heals you, plus it actually does pretty sizable amounts of damage. And then we got Loyal to the End, which of course sims very high whenever you have one person in your group with it, much less if you have the full stacks of your group with it. Pretty sick. Has an interesting effect whenever you die. Your allies gain critical strike, haste, versatility equal to their mastery bonus from this trait.
You sure you were looking at Undulating Tides there? Undulating Tides doesn't really work too well.
Does it not sim correctly? It simmed really high.
Well, that's assuming 100% uptime, right? So, unless it's changed, which it should be, every time you fall below 50% health, you lose the damaging effect of it.
It doesn't say that in the tooltip, so I didn't really understand that.
We were linked a log of it. You cannot proc the shield or the damage during the duration of the debuff.
All right, so never mind. If that's actually true, then that trait's trash.
Yeah, so that's why we're very everyone's going to get Spy Masters and get the 2 raid traits. But if you have the crit ones, the crit traits from Mythic Plus shit is good, but it shouldn't be your first focus based on how it works.
Yeah, so basically, like Undulating Tide from the tooltip, it says your damaging spells and abilities have a chance to crash a wave upon your target for some amount of frost damage, and then whenever your health drops below 50%, you gain a shield absorbing 35,000 damage within 8 seconds. Oh, okay. And this is when this occurs, Undulating Tides cannot trigger again for 45 seconds. So
we thought that would only refer to the.
I thought it referred to the shield, but
just the shield, which is how I think it should be. But
that's okay.
Apparently they don't care. Yeah, it kind of just makes it really bad.
It makes it like not usably bad. Okay, so that's you're never gonna play that. Loyal to the end though, pretty good. And then whenever somebody does end up dying, you actually get a pretty sizable amount of damage. So we're gonna see Ellie Shamans going to the end time, resetting their onks and sacking themselves every pull again, per usual.
Hopefully fixed.
Nah, I think they fixed that. I think they actually fixed the end time to where you actually can't reset onk anymore. So
that's good. That's all they really needed to do.
All right, and then we got professions and consumables, which got a pretty big overhaul. There's a lot of stuff to talk about. Of course, you can still read about this stuff if you want, like the tooltips and everything else in the Wowhead and Icy Veins guides. Of course, the Dreamgrove GG guide too. So be sure to check those out if you want something that's a little bit more specific on the name, if we don't pronounce it correctly or whatever else, right? So we can start off. Are there any professions that are there any professions that really jump out to you as like super useful for progression, Nick? Obviously, I think engineering and leatherworking seems like it's the best. Maybe like a couple other professions like alchemy if you want to save some gold or anything. But does engineering and leatherworking just seem like it's by far the best for progression? Hello,
yes.
Nick. I guess Nick is not here. Okay. Okay, so Boro, do you think it seems like engineering and leatherworking is the best because you can craft the pants and the boots, and then engineering gives you the Azerite hat,
I'm sorry,
right?
I'm back.
Hello, welcome
I had
back.
to cough to death right now. Sorry.
Oh no, don't die.
Yeah, I'm trying.
But yeah, Boro, what do you think about the professions? Is there anything else that you like maybe consider using?
They basically just blew jewel crafting off the face of the earth, which I don't mind. Well, they gave everything sockets, which I guess kind of needed to happen, but I think maybe jewel crafting could get little something.
2 sockets.
Everything got a buff except jewel crafting, right? All the crafting professions. And jewel crafting was like good, but it wasn't insane. I mean, it was good, but it wasn't like, mandatory, all that kind of stuff. Like engineering always seemed a little bit better, especially for early prog. But
leatherworking competed with jewel crafting, so both of those seemed like
because you got 2 pieces off of it, yeah.
Yeah.
And now they just said, fuck it, just give everything sockets, drop it all by 5 eye levels, and call it a day. That's not really good balance, but that's what they did.
Maybe jewel crafting and ring should have 2 sockets.
Just let us craft a neck, Put a let us put a socket on our Azerite.
Part of Azeroth.
Yeah.
That would be definitely interesting. So yeah, basically everybody's gonna go engineering and leatherworking. Seems like that's by far the best.
Alchemy's okay, I think.
Alchemy's always gonna be okay because you can get that trinket too, but that's more healer focused. But
the professions are just not that like impactful in reading since they removed like the enchants and stuff like that, or the engineering rocket stuff. Obviously some were just way better than they should be. They aren't like, if you're in a good guild and you're showing up to raid with I don't know, herbing alchemy, probably want to swap that herbing off, but I wouldn't go like if you're not leatherworking engineering, you're a burden. That's just not true.
Well, a big part of the issue too is that you actually don't normally end up losing too much for being like these like shitty professions like herbalism, right? Basically, most of the professions like craft consumables, and then you have a couple crafting professions, but like the crafting professions a lot of the times aren't just like overwhelmingly better. Like engineering is good because of the belt enchant plus the Azerite piece that you can end up trading away other people for Azerite later on, but it's not because it's like just above and beyond just like so much better. Like maybe if all the professions were OP, it would be a little bit more of a discussion though, like you were saying.
I think that's just a more fun game.
I don't think I disagree. I think that the professions actually being more overpowered and like you actually have to put thought into what professions you're actually taking seems like it's a little bit better of a system.
Those first iterations of essences were like,
oh boy,
goodness. They looked fun. They looked like this one gives you 100% crit for 8 seconds. This one gives you a bunch of haste. This one does a bunch of damage. I was like, oh my god! Now everything's like, it's like good.
It's kind of mellowed out, yeah. And
yeah, it's definitely mellowed out.
Do you think they missed the mark with essences?
No, I actually don't. I think essences, at least for us, are pretty balanced. There's 4, 5 usable essences easily for varying forms of content. That's fine. That is like hit the mark. But in terms of just like overall game design, it's just preferential.
Mm-hmm. All right, so we got the overarching talk about professions consumables. Now we got there's been some new things updated. We have new battle potions and flasks, a new weapon enchants, new gems, and new food. So for potions, the potions are a little bit interesting now, especially since you have to have like a bunch of different kinds depending on like what you're doing. So we got the greater battle potion of intellect, which you would think is going to be your best. It's gonna rarely be used, I think. So it's gonna be used on 2 to 3 targets, or if you have to target swap mid potion.
You think that's rarely being used?
I mean, considering the damage profiles in Mythic Plus, doesn't seem like super likely.
Oh yeah, Mythic Plus maybe.
For Mythic Plus, it doesn't seem like it has like use at all for raid.
How often are you hitting a single target for the duration?
For 25 seconds? I don't know.
Well, okay, for 25, I think that's fine, right? The whole like hitting another target, but I wouldn't ever say I popped a potion and only hit a single target. Like I mean that definitely happens, and that could be just where we fit into the meta of raid damage.
I mean, our class is a target swap class, yeah.
Yeah. Well, right now we're the single target class. We do have some good target swapping, but I don't think let's say you give us rock boy, you give us crypt potion. You send us into the madness realm on Zakul, give us 30% more haste. We pop everything and we just do like 5% of the boss's HP on our own. Oh, maybe that's a little much, but
what they call that? They call that big damn.
They call that big damn. They give us an enhanced shaman with their conflict and strife, and we get ranked. That's kind of how it works.
oh man,
they buff us up.
We get what is it? Just like Tordu or something. I don't actually know what the thing is. I just know our enhanced shaman burden is trying to talk himself in.
Enhanced shaman conflict and strife. It's you call down bolts of lightning charging you and your target's weapons. The cooldown recovery rate of all the abilities increased by 30% for 10 seconds. What the?
Ooh,
that can be pretty
that's not that good. But I mean, that's not burst, but
that doesn't seem good for us. It seems good for like.
Okay, that's fine. I thought it was like a damage. I thought it was like a damage increase, but
that'd be sick though. But yeah, no, that's so yeah. Basically, what Boris ended up saying is that we probably should be using the Potion of Focus Resolve. It does a fuck ton of single target damage, but the caveat of it is that you can't. It's not that you can't. You should not target swap off of it because you end up getting like a stacking crit buff or whatever whenever you're hitting one target.
Yeah, and it falls off.
Yeah, and it falls off if you hit another target, so you can't target swap. And then the other potion that seems like it's going to be used is the Potion of Empowered Proximity, which is used on 4+ targets. So, yeah, that seems pretty good. It's kind of interesting to think about that they added a potion like that. It's going to be pretty good in Mythic Plus, I think. All right. So for flasks, the greater flasks of Endless Fathoms, only Int flask. Nothing really too much to say about that. We had a new weapon enchant, Machinist Brilliance. I don't really understand why they added a new weapon enchant. Do you guys really get it at all or not really?
Nope. No clue.
I mean, it seems like 0.5% higher than Torrent and like both quick and masterful navigation. So like it's going to be used, but it seems like it's just like random that they even added something else.
Yeah, it wasn't necessary at all. But sure, I'll take another 0.5% on top of my 50k damage I'm already doing.
Yeah, dude. We're going to sim 52k DPS by the end of the tier confirmed.
Someone in my guild asked how much they're all simming in their raid profiles. They're like, yeah, 55, 52, 53, maybe 56. I'm like, what are you guys doing? Someone's simming for 52 with like decent gear? Hello? We are going to for sim for like 55, 56 with like sockets and Titanforge. It's going to be insane.
Yeah, so we got for food, we got a kind of a shakeup. We got the baked potato, which is the haste personal food, and it seems like it's finally outsimmed the feast, right? The
Yep.
snack table feast. So anything to really say about that?
Well,
Mastery food could be good if you use like condensed life force. There's
True.
a lot of haste from that.
Mastery food can always be good depending on where your stats end up lying. So there should be some caveat to note with that. I think most of the time you end up going for haste though, because haste also scales a little bit better on multiple targets, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, mastery can be good, especially if you have a fuck ton of haste. Like I currently have just a jillion haste, but yeah. All right, so gems, we got the Quicksand Spinal and the Masterful Sea Current. Those are haste and mastery respectively. And is the Int one actually simming higher than the haste and mastery gems? I think I read that earlier, but I didn't.
Yes, it's 2 times strength. They even improved the current gem. You might even want like until you get your gear upgraded for like the next week. You should probably take a look at the new the current int gem, which is now I think it's 80, right?
Mm-hmm.
Instead of 40. So it's 80, 40,
the Kraken
120, yeah, 120, 160.
Yeah, so actually you guys should check those out. I don't know what the names of them are offhand, because I didn't expect them to actually be good, but I was reading somewhere that they're actually good.
Leviathan is the new one, and the current one is Kraken.
So yeah, we've got the Leviathan Gem of Intellect and the Kraken Gem of Intellect. Okay, cool. So I think that does it for us today. Bora, where can the people find you? How can they get in touch with you?
I stream on twitch.tv/BoraBank. I don't really stream farm too much, but I do try to stream all my progression raids. Net allow it. Currently not raid leading anymore, so I can do a lot more talking and chat interaction. Maybe give some insight to to fights that you might not agree. You can also look at my guide at Icy Veins, the Balanced Root Sank.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, definitely go check that out. Bora is rating an Encore. They're actually bumping up their hours from 12 to 16, so they probably will see a decent increase in their world rank. Probably get up there in mid-20s, maybe like 25ish or so. So that'll be pretty sick. Yeah. Nicholas, thank you for being here. I'm sorry that you're sick. I hope you start feeling better. Where can they all find you, Nick?
Discord, twitch.tv/NickDruid. Gonna stream progression, gonna stream all of it. Splits, heroic, mythic, everything. Splits is going to be fun to watch because we're doing some very, very interesting stuff, and it's going to be very annoying for me, and you probably see me cry a lot. Probably put up a streak somewhere so I can hang my. Okay, no, sorry.
Are you gonna do like a wheel? Like every time you wipe, you spin the wheel of punishment?
Yeah, I hope so. No, we are doing that sort of stuff where you do 3 bosses like 7 times in a row, and then you do the next bosses like 5 times in a row, until you have to coin them all on all your alts, and then you're good to go on your mains. It's going to be very annoying, but it's probably worth it.
So every time an alt gets a huge Titan Forge, you have to take a shot of Hennessy, okay?
Sure, we can do that. I have like 2 bottles standing behind me.
All right, so so stay tuned to Nick Druid drunk stream.
Oh hell no!
He's doing Chewy when he kills the final boss.
I will take off my t-shirt like Tettles on, what was it, KJ?
Still jaded.
Oh, hell yeah.
That was
my freedom.
That's a shirt reveal, boss, for
that
sure.
That was my freedom. That was a fucking 600 pull boss, and I was very done with that boss after it was over.
Should have done it
All
on
right.
Una, to be honest.
Yeah, you should have done that. But yeah, no. More. What else? Definitely going to be losing strengths. They're going to probably like world 9th.
All right, you lagged out a bit there, buddy.
Nick.
You're still lagging out.
Oh no, unfortunate. I was flaming.
All right, yeah, guys. Thanks for watching. Thanks for patrons, I guess. And let's hope the next Moonkin monthly isn't as scuffed as this one. Sort of sorry for it, but we had some issues because we couldn't delay it anymore because, well, we should have done it before 8.2 anyway, but Tettles had some internet issues. I had some issues because I was sick. And next time will be with cams, hopefully. So, see you around, I guess. Any last words, Tettles, bro?
Nope. Enjoy 8.2.
No, Laggles is signing out.
Alright, later.